Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And it's way too early in the morning. I just got done watching the live stream. I was going to make a video on that, but well, the English version I'll leave it like this. It was kind of a mess, and those guys were treated pretty unfairly from what I was able to see. But there's a lot of patch notes to go over, and we're going to have all of the information basically in that live stream and more just here. So I'm just going to cover this for you guys, and this will save you a lot of time. So let's check this out. There's going to be a lot of stuff as you just saw me scroll through there for the Galactic Disaster Season 1 Forbidden Catalyst Chapter 2. I don't know why we're having names like this. This is the most wild stuff. So we got the bosses coming out. We knew this before. The Great Rift is going to be starting now. All right, we're going to have a boss here. That's cool. We're going to be able to get some rewards from this as well. We don't need to do anything crazy as far as going over this. They are, though, adding the merit rankings system. So the merit rankings are displayed up to rank 1000. This is like PvEVP, right? It's just who can get the highest ranking on the boss. That's fine. So if you get in the top 1%, you're gonna get some like little icons. It kind of honestly doesn't really matter too much based on what I read here. It's fine. It's some cosmetic stuff. If you want to get in there and fight for some cosmetic stuff for being in the top 1% of this new mode, then go for it. All right, go for it. That's all I really have to say. Now, the supply store, though, is going to be opening. This is the second week of the supply store, and we can see the Omega code is in here. This is going to be the 5-star dupe imprint, so confirmed in here, and it only is going to be costing 6,000 pure white fragments. How much is that? Well, if you clear out the first shop, not that many. That is the equivalent of buying like a rescue anchor 4 times. So not very bad. You're going to be able to get an Omega code for an imprint for a 5-star. You're going to get one of them from the second supply store. And I don't think we're going to see another one in the 3rd week, although I could be wrong there. The other stuff that are going to be added into the 2nd week, right? We have rescue anchors, prism lenses, ego crystals, things to just level your characters, trace the memory, core of memories. But the big one here is the Omega code in the 2nd week of the shop. I know a lot of you guys are going to have questions on like, which dupe imprint should I get? I'll be making a video on that. All right. There's a couple out there that are pretty insane for 5 stars. All right. Galactic Disaster Content Improvement. Now, this one is a little weird here as well. So the dimensional tunnel, that's part of the Laboratory 0 of the season. Well, it's going to appear with new choices, apparently. And they say through these choices, you can experience additional gameplay after completing Chaos Interior. Now, this was a big thing that I did see in some of the other versions of the live stream. There's going to be a new section after the interior. So Chaos Interior is like the 2nd floor. And there's going to be another one with like a special boss back there if you want to go and complete that boss. There wasn't a lot of information like, oh, is the boss can give you another chance to duplicate a card or anything. As far as the English live stream went, no one knew anything at all. All right. Now here's the other thing though. Codexes, right? The codex system are going to get the dimensional tunnel effect. So you're going to be able to get the dimensional tunnel in non-season content, and you'll be able to get forbidden cards in codexes as well. Now, I did just say they're non-season content because technically they are non-season content, but it doesn't matter because save data obtained through codexes now that have the dimensional tunnel in them, which they all will apparently, is going to include a season symbol, allowing it to be used the same way that seasonal save data is. So they basically are making Zero system just directly intertwined with the season system as far as season save data goes. So if you're bored of doing the new season area, you don't want to do it no more, you don't like the zone, you don't think it allows you to get good save data, you can go and do anything in Zero system with the codex system that we have and be able to get seasonal data that way if you like a better area. So that's going to be pretty big there. Demise Gate is going to be a new area added to Laboratory 0. The location of Dimensional Tunnel is now displayed at all times. So I'm assuming this is the map. And down in the bottom down here, they said they were going to remove, there was a lot of like clapback about it that I saw a little bit. Something about like a bug where like, you know how you got 2 question marks inside of the run, inside of your chaos, and you'd be able to know that that was the Dimensional Tunnel. They said they were taking that away and fixing it as a bug, but you'll be able to see them all times now anyway. Oh, here it is. The interference fate, which previously indicated dimensional tunnel's location, will no longer appear, but they're just going to show it to you always. Apparently, you know, reading the second sentence gets you a long way. Here's the Unigram Messenger launch. This doesn't have a lot of information on it, but basically you're going to be able to talk to certain combatants. So if you're into the persona, talk to an AI girlfriend, whatever sort of storyline going on, dude. I don't know what's going on with your life, but yeah, if you're into that, cool, you can do that now. They don't say it has any sort of rewards whatsoever, but hey, it's added to the game. This is a big one though, the new permanent shop, the Blackthorn trade update. So in Blackthorn trade, you can acquire growth materials. You're gonna be able to acquire this new currency, the Crystal of Discord, by just playing Chaos Manifestation, Codex, and different stuff in the Galactic Disaster Chaos as well. So this is just gonna be additional rewards that you can gain without having to do any new content. Just be able to do whatever it is that you were doing before, because we're all running Chaos and Codex and doing the event. So this is going to be here for us to buy different stuff in here. You can see that the rewards for what you gain, Galactic Disaster Chaos, you're going to get no matter what level, 300 crystals. Codex 5 through 10 is 300 crystals. And then Chaos Manifestation levels 1 to 2 is 150, and then anything else is 300 crystals. So basically, as long as you're able to do Chaos Manifestation 3 or higher, the maximum amount of crystals of Discord you can get is 300. To say maximum doesn't say that's what you get, but it does say maximum. That being said, I don't think it's going to be hard to run through and get 300 crystals. It's not like you have to run it on like the highest difficulties to hit that reward threshold. So this basically means like every time you run Chaos, you're gonna get 300 of these crystals. So what can we use to buy them? So we're gonna have Rescue Anchor 5 times per month is 600 crystals. So 2 Chaos runs get you a pull. So 10 Chaos runs a month. That's gonna get you your 5 pulls there. Oh, we have the Eye of the Wailing Prodigy 8 times, Shard of Condemnation, just a bunch of different stuff. As you can see, all the manuals for the different classes, right? Certificates, some core data, some particles of memory, units if you want to as well. So if you're just playing the game a crap ton, you'll be able to basically just use and abuse the Blackthorn trade item list and just buy a bunch of stuff to level characters every month. And this seems like it's going to be per month on the Rescue Anchor, but the rest of them for right now are per account. So keep that in mind as well. They also don't say that they're going to refresh this at any point. So, you know, it would be a lot for you to get all of this in a month. You need to seek help, right? Because you're getting 300 per run. So to buy 10 manuals, that's your one run. So you're going to need to get in there and do a bunch of different runs, but I'm sure someone will clean this shop out. I do like seeing this added because remember, they are also reducing the amount of credits it takes to level characters as well as partners to level 60 from level 50 by like 80%. So you're gonna be able to use this to level up a bunch of different secondary characters and just whoever it is you want to mess around on your account with. Now we have the See You on the Unigram event. This is just gonna be some sort of event with Ray where you talk to her. It's gonna use the Unigram thing that we just talked about, or they're adding this where we can talk to our girls and boys. Apparently, you're gonna be able to acquire, you know, some small benefits from just doing random nonsensical stuff like order coffee and send Ray messages and whatever. So this isn't super crazy, right? Okay, new check-in event. We're gonna be able to get some random items here. Units, gifts, a couple pulls, nothing super crazy, but it is going to be a 21-day check-in event. So, hey, why not? You know, we're going to get 10 signal amplification anchors at some point, right? Tear of a God for some refreshes, 10 rescue anchors. So there's some good stuff in here. If you want to read the whole list, go ahead, pause the video. I don't know. We're moving on. Now, here's the next one here. Chizuru is now available. So this is going to be where a good amount of information. They're going to give us all of the information on her cards. So let's check this out. Chizuru is going to be a void psionic character. And just like we talked about, she's going to be based around a couple unique mechanics. One of them generating cards, because guess what? She's a psionic character. Crazy. So we're 2 starting cards. We're gonna have 2 moon slashes, which is kind of interesting actually. She has 2 of the same exact base cards. A lot of characters have like a 1 cost that does 100 and then like a 2 cost, right? She's more like Maylin, that sort of type where they have 2 of the same exact basic card and then like a shield. She also has Karmic Flames, which has Initiation on it. It's going to do 100% damage mod, and then you're going to start seeing her own unique mechanics, which is Curse Shackles and this Will-O-Wisp the Flame. So before we go through all of the cards here, let's go down to her exclusive effects. So exclusive resources as well. So bind is going to be something we'll see on her cards. When bind cards of a unit are in hand, they stack into one card. If bind is 3 or higher, it changes into Shadow of the Moon Plus. All right, and when that card Shadow of the Moon Plus is used, it resets your stacks of bind, and bind stacks up to 5 times. That's going to be her exclusive talent. The exclusive resource is Will-O-the-Wisp, and Will-O-the-Wisp, when 5 of those stacks are gained, you create 1 normal Shadow of the Moon. When the effect is activated, it decreases Will-O-the-Wisp by 5 as well. So she's got this double stacking mechanic where she can generate a Shadow of the Moon card by hitting 5 of Will-O-the-Wisp. And then if you have multiple bind cards, which is going to be Shadow of the Moon most of the time, it's going to change into a stronger version of Shadow of the Moon called Shadow of the Moon Plus. On top of that, we have the Cursed Shackles, which is an effect when an ally uses an attack card other than a bind card on a target with Cursed Shackles, you will gain 1 Will-O-the-Wisp for each hit. All right, when applied to a different target, remove Cursed Shackles. So Cursed Shackles is going to be a debuff that you apply with this character, with Chizuru, and very similar to something like whenever someone in your party uses an attack card, like with Hugo to proc his Commence the Hunt, when someone uses an attack card on someone who has Cursed Shackles in a Chizuru team, that is how you're going to gain your Will-O-the-Wisp stacks. You gain 1 stack for every hit of the card. So multi-hit cards are going to be this character's best friend, but you can only have Cursed Shackles on 1 target at a time. On top of that, she's going to have this effect called Inhibit, which is a heck of a drawback. So you cannot gain AP except at the start of the turn or on Ravage when you break something's tenacity meter, and it adds 1 hit to Shadow of the Moon as well as Shadow of the Moon Plus. So that's going to be a special effect / buff that you can gain where you trade off on being able to gain AP with someone like Mika, or even more importantly, if you're trying to break this character and come up with cool teams for her, if you cannot gain AP except at the start of the turn, not only does that turn off stuff like Mika, it also turns off any Divine Epiphany card that gives you AP, or any sort of Epiphany card that gives you AP on any of the characters in the game, which means that you are really limited. It even would affect like gear that you get from Chaos, like from the Ithlid monster, right? The big Mind Flayer guy, that the Sphere of Randomness or whatever that trinket is, that accessory that gives you like +1 card draw, +1 AP at the start of the battle. That wouldn't work either. Okay, so let's go up and check out the rest of these skills here, the base versions. So she's gonna have a card called Tsukiyomi, right? That can Epiphany. For each hit of the next attack card you use on this unit, you gain 2 Will-O-the-Wisp. Okay. Then we have Bound of Dusk Initiation, which is a card that has a unique effect. You can't duplicate this in your run. The start of the turn, gain Inhibit, decrease cost by 1 unit, 1 random card of another combatant. Okay, what? What this actually should mean, and I can show you over here, is that this is going to be a card that allows you to, basically, it's like one of those weird cards. It kind of just gives a lead to a card for the most part at random at the start of your turn, right? So at the start of your turn, decrease cost of a card of your hand by 1 until you use another combatant's card. So it can basically just give lead is what this card does. Fine. Oni Hunt, haste, so it's not going to reduce turn action count on your enemies. 3 hits of 60 mod, and then plus 30% damage amount to the next bind card. And then Shadow of the Moon is the thing we've talked about a lot here. Bind 1, retain 50% damage, and then for each bind stack, plus 20% damage amount. Remember that bind stack can go up to 3, and it doesn't actually show a Shadow of the Moon plus here does. Ego Skills, 250 mod, plus 50% damage for each Shadow of the Moon card created. It doesn't say created this turn, just says created throughout the battle. So you'll be able to get this up to a maximum of 750% damage multiplier. Her manifest egos, which is her dupes, we can go over real quick. 20% damage to Shadow of the Moon plus, and then a 3% heal amount based on your max HP, which is fine. But her biggest payoff card, her hardest hitting card, should be Shadow of the Moon plus. It's what all of her gimmicks are about up here. So E1, hey man, plus 20% damage to your hardest hitting card. Is that cool? Yeah. Is it absolutely game breaking? I'm not quite sure. It depends on how many Shadow of the Moon pluses we can pop off with a good dedicated Chizuru build at the end of the day. Then we have the Awakening Memory. When using Shadow of the Moon plus, create one Shadow of the Moon, which gives you like a little bit of a refund, because remember, the way you get Shadow of the Moon plus is to basically get 3 binds right on your Shadow of the Moon. So it's a bind card up here. Shadow of the Moon is bind 1. You need to get it to bind 3. When you add multiple bind cards to your hand, they can merge together. You need to get to bind 3 to get access to Shadow of the Moon plus, and this will give you 1 back when you use a Shadow of the Moon plus, meaning that you only need to get 2 more Shadow of the Moon to make another plus version, which has the potential to sound, I mean, that sounds really good. Anytime you're telling me on a character I'm trying to combo off on, I only need 2 of the 3 instead of 3 of the 3 to keep doing that very powerful thing. This one seems like it could be a good awakening for our manifest ego here. 150 damage to Moonlight of the High Tide, which sure, that's your ego skill. I don't particularly care about this one. When Shadow of the Moon is created, gain 1 Lunar Shard. All right, Lunar Shard is plus 10% damage amount to Chizuru's attack cards, max 3 stacks. This is her 4th manifest ego, and this just sounds like a 30% damage mod. Just 30% damage increase to all of her attack cards. You should be able to absolutely poop out Shadow of the Moon cards, especially if you're at E4. You're already getting 1 back when you use a Shadow of the Moon plus. And to use a Shadow of the Moon plus, you've already well, guess what, created a couple of the Shadow of the Moons probably anyway, in order to get those bind stacks to 3 to get the Shadow of the Moon plus version anyway. So this is just like plus 30% damage. Seems good. We don't need to talk about 5 because it's just random basic upgrades. And then 6 is when Lunar Shard stacks hit 3, increase hit count of Shadow of the Moon plus by 1 as well. Which means that we're just going to take our hardest hitting card, make it hit 1 time harder, and do keep in mind the amount of hits that are on our attacks do matter a fair amount, because that is how we generate more Shadow of the Moons through the Will-O-Wisp mechanic. Remember, the amount of times we hit is pretty powerful on this character. Before we get into, actually, let's just look at all of her cards right now and we'll go into her partner. So she's going to have a fair amount of different epiphanies that allow you to either add extra hits to your attacks so you can generate extra Will-O-the-Wisp stacks. She has the ability for you to change up the different benefit you gain from her unique sort of self-bind mechanic that prevents you from generating AP, but then it'll turn cards basically into lead cards for free or reduce the cost of different cards in your hand for free. Basically, her entire sort of kits is based around generating either additional hits, so you can generate additional Will-O-the-Wisp stacks on someone that you put the bind debuff from her Hellfire card on, or increasing the payoff that you get from Shadow of the Moon plus, and just allow her to be more efficient in general when it comes to comboing and popping off. I'm going to have a separate video where we go over all of these in detail, because I know that the language you're seeing on these cards does not match anything that we saw in the patch notes. I don't know why there's like different translations on these cards from the other live stream. I'm not sure, but we'll check it out in that video, and we're going to go over what I think will be her best different potential cards for a deck for Chizuru there. And we have our partner, the Rescue Rate Up Itsuku. It's gonna be a psionic partner. I know a lot of people were saying, oh man, I really hope psionic partners are amazing for us, for our trusted mains out here. And it's really not gonna be that case. So here's the passive. Attack increased by 8 to 16%, that's fine. And then every time the combatant's cards stack, increases damage amount of attack cards by 5 to 10%. can stack up to 3 times. You might be asking, what does it mean when combatant cards stack? It's literally the only thing in the game that does that right now is the bind mechanic. So this partner, most of the passive only works for Chizuru right now. Okay. But on top of that though, for every 1 attack card used by the assigned combatant, when it deals 3 hits, you deal an extra 30 to 60 fixed damage to the target, which isn't that big of a deal. It really isn't. And then the ego skill, I think 30 to 60% fixed damage is like a joke. And then the ego skill, 200% to all enemies. Fierce Winds 1 and Fierce Winds gives you a 50% damage amount to attack cards of the assigned combatant for 1 turn. This is good though. If this is only like a 3 EP skill, that would be awesome. Because 50% damage amount for a low EP cost is just very nice to have. It's just strong, is all I can say at the end of the day. It's consistent. When you get ready to pop off with Chizuru or whatever psionic partner, you can just pop this off and just go all the way down there. So the passive might not be useful for everyone, right? Because not everyone has this bind stack mechanic. But if you're using Tressa or if you're using Kairon or whatever, you just want to blow dudes up, spamming a bunch of cards. I mean, 50% for the entire turn is quite nice. That being said, not super keen on them making cards already where it's like one character gets the benefit of this. It's like, that's not my favorite thing. All right, we also have affinity system improvements. They're adding favorite friendship stuff. So go ahead, have fun with that. You can send gifts easier now. You'll be able to keep track of affinity levels. The animations will be easier and adjusted to see exactly how much affinity EXP you're gaining from different situations. That's fine. The gift system related to excursion content will be improved. They're just basically making the gift system a little bit better than before. Maybe they'll stop mailing me 3 strawberry shortcakes every day. Hopefully that'll happen. They're also doing new season of hyperspace. So this is gonna be Dimensional Twilight, is gonna be starting from 1 to 10 again. It's gonna have a new supportive effect that's based around using attack cards to hit multiple times to gain access to morale. That's fine as well. And then everyone's favorite thing, leveling up combatants and partners. The units that will be required is going to be reduced by 80%. And if you did do this already, they're retroactively refunding us and mailing it all into the mailbox on the 3rd, which is going to be tomorrow as well. They're adding Ray's special lobby, apparently, which I don't even know where that came from, but all right. And they're also adding 2 new memory fragments. So Judgment's Flames, 50% damage amount to instinct cards when used on targets in a ravaged state. Not my favorite thing. Things that require enemies to be in a ravaged state isn't my favorite thing. So I'm not too keen on this 4-piece set. And then the new Orb of Inhibition 4-piece. When hitting 2 times with 1 attack card, plus 10% amount of damage to void cards for 1 turn. This is going to be the new 4-piece set bonus for Chizuru, because Chizuru doesn't really exhaust cards that much in her kit. I think she has like 1 Epiphany that allows her to do that. But outside of that, she doesn't really have a ton. So she can't really use the normal 4-piece void set if that's what you want to do. That being said, I wouldn't go out and worry about farming the absolute crap out of this right away. You could probably just get by with like 2-piece attack, 2-piece crit damage on your Chizuru and have really well-rolled substats and do that. Okay. The new simulation for Flames and the Orb, so we can gain access to these, will be opened up. So that's going to be a new boss as well. And then on top of that, they're improving a bunch of random stuff. So Chaos Matrix rewards will be expanded up to level 100 from Zero System. They're increasing the rewards for Mission Chapter 6. If you already did it, you're going to gain the difference between the 2 of them. So that's cool. Other things are getting buffed up, right? They're making things look better. I don't want to spend a gajillion time on here. You can read it right here for yourself. I'll leave it as I talk. But yeah, they're not changing like anything wild and crazy. out here. This just like voice lines and set all monsters HP to 1 as an option that you can get in chaos from the divine blessing god at the start of the run, stuff like that. Battle related adjustments. There was one in here that I really did like, and I don't think it was. Oh, I remember now though. It's something to do with changing counter. Counter is going to be able to work with debuffs and act like an actual attack. It was counting counter as like fixed damage before, but now it's not going to count counter as fixed damage. So you'll be able to use damage buffs and damage debuffs on counter now, which is big for those mains of counter out there with Magna. Oh, and then there's an absolute crap ton of bug fixes. I'm not going to be going over all of this other stuff in the patch notes because we'd be here for 9 trillion years. All right, absolute 9 trillion years. So go ahead and check that stuff out for you there. If you want a further breakdown of everything to do with Chizuru and my opinions and thoughts on her, check out another video. We're going to be going over more detailed information on her. This was just like a little overview. We're going to be going over all of the stuff of the effects of these cards, and I had to work out the translations, mistranslations, and I'll give my opinion on this specifically in that video as well. I didn't want this video to be like an hour long, so we're going to break it up into 2 for you. Have fun out there, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.